discussions are called our community coffees. We have them every other Tuesday morning at 8. Our topic of discussion this morning is business, beaches, and basics of South Florida. So with so many people that are moving to South Florida, interested in moving to South Florida, we want to have a discussion about what are some of the main benefits that we have living and working here in this lovely region. I know that from a lot of our past panel discussions, even me as a native South Floridian, I tend to learn a lot too. So I'm hoping that this is helpful for many people. So a little bit about our panelists here. We've got Dennis Grady, hopefully that will join us soon, President and CEO of the Chamber of Palm Beaches, Stacy Ritter, the President and CEO of Visit Lauderdale, Matt Haggman, the Executive VP of Miami-Dade Beacon Council, and last but not least, Andrew Koenig, President at City Furniture. And let me see if it'll let me go to the next screen. It's not for some reason. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not letting me. All right, so I'm just going to talk. All right, so a little bit about our organization as a whole here. Tech Hub South Florida, we are committed to inclusivity. We want to create a culture of bringing everybody to the table and allowing everybody to connect with us here. We're trying to be the connective tissue of the ecosystem. So we just want to make sure that everybody feels like they're included and welcome. Us as an organization, a little bit about our programmings. On Monday evenings at 6 p.m., we've got our tech talks. We actually are doing them hopefully soon, getting back to doing them in person starting in May. So we do have locations in West Palm Beach, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami that we will be hosting them. So please stay tuned to see that. We are going to be sending out some information on our first location where we're going to be doing them back in person. Also is, as far as for our events, we've got Tuesday, alternating Tuesdays is our podcast at 8 a.m. And then the other Tuesdays alternating our community coffees like this morning. Then we've also got on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have our member exclusive peer groups. Those typically are 4 or 5 p.m. We currently have 9 peer groups. And so I'd be happy to in the chat drop that a little bit later. So if anybody's interested. Then we also have Fridays at noon. We host our lunch and learns, which are educational workshops, typically very intro level for people that are interested in different types of technologies or best practices within the space. Currently, right now, we are at about 200 corporate members and, of course, thousands of professionals across the region in Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and Martin County as well. And I don't know if we've got anybody this morning from South Florida Business and Wealth, because I do want to, and I apologize if you're on here with me because I don't see you yet this morning. You can take yourself off mute, South Florida Business and Wealth, whoever the contact is this morning, to feel free to come up and speak for just a second, because they do sponsor all of our community coffees. And of course, I do want to mention as well, we have Beth Wagmeister on with us this morning doing our ASL interpretation. We are very happy to have her, and also being able to make our community coffees more inclusive. Just also to throw this out as I'm on the topic is, if anybody in our community, whether you're a corporate member, partner, anybody that's interested, we are looking for somebody to sponsor more ASL interpretation for our other events, to make sure that we can have all of our events be as inclusive as possible. So thank you again, Beth, for being here with us. And I'm looking on my screen. I don't see, do we have somebody from South Florida Business and Wealth on with us this morning? I know we've normally got Mark on here with us, but I don't see him this morning. No. All right. Well, thank you again to South Florida Business and Wealth. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off with our Q&A. Before we start with that, I'd like to have each of our speakers just tell us your name, the organization that you come from, and a little bit about yourself. And I'm just going to start with who is first on my screen. So I've got Andrew.
Hi, everybody. Andrew Koenig, president of City Furniture, second generation here at City. Keith, my father, started the business with my uncle Kevin. We've been in business for 50 years. This is actually our 50th year. Proud partnered with Tech Hub South Florida. I guess what maybe something unique is we've been going through a pretty serious digital transformation the last 4 or 5 years. So happy to partner with Joe and Nikki and the entire team and just get more involved in the community when it comes to everything technology. We're growing a pretty large team here and trying to lead us in the next 50 years.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And I do want to give you a shout out here for also supporting the Engineer the Change scholarship with Boca Code recently. So that was something that was really important to us in our community. So we appreciate that in being able to be more diverse and inclusive there as well. And Stacy, I've got you next.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am President and CEO of Visit Lauderdale. My job is to market and promote the beautiful destination that I've been fortunate to call home now since 1974, and we do it to the world. I started my professional life as an attorney. Don't hold that against me because I didn't do it for very long. And then I became a member of the State House of Representatives in 1996, served there for 8 years, which is all you get in Florida. And I was term limited out, and then I ran for and won a seat on the Broward County Commission, where I was privileged to serve for 10 years with 1 year as mayor before I took this job in 2016. That is my professional path. My claim to fame is the mom of 2 wonderful rescue dogs. And my children are great too.
And don't forget them, Stacy.
I know, but dogs.
Very good. Thank you, Stacy. And Matt.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Haggman, Executive Vice President at the Beacon Council. I'm originally from Boston. I moved here in December. It'll be 20 years here in South Florida. And I moved here to work as a journalist, which I did for the better part of a decade, most of that time at the Miami Herald. I then went to Knight Foundation, where I had the privilege of rethinking Knight's work in South Florida and created and launched Knight's program focused on building Miami's tech and entrepreneurial ecosystem, and led that for over 6+ years. And now I'm in a role at Beacon Council, where I had the opportunity to reimagine an initiative called One Community, One Goal, which is an effort focused on trying to help shape Miami and South Florida's economic future by identifying really those core things that we must solve for as a community as we think about our economy and our community 5, 10, 15 years from now, and then working to try and rally the community around addressing those things. And so right now in the thick of that whole redesign, which having a lot of fun with, and would love, both as part of this discussion and then hopefully discussions going forward, engaging with all of you about those things that, we as a community really must be solving for and leaning in on. So it's a real pleasure to be with all of you this morning. Furthermore, just want to add, I do think regionalism and working as a region is really important to our efforts going forward. So it's really awesome to be together this morning.
Thank you so much, Matt. We have this same thought towards regionalism. So thank you for saying that, because that's really important to us as well, which, was one of the main reasons why we did the expansion, of course, our recent rebrand to the new name. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions. I know I actually just got an email from Dennis. He's having some problems logging on. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on the next couple of minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions. So I actually did have this question addressed to Dennis, but I feel like a lot of you have been in South Florida for quite a long time too. I know, Stacy, you just said that as well, but I wanted to ask you, to open up this conversation, can you tell us a little bit about how you've seen South Florida change over the years? And this question is for anybody, whoever would like to take it first.
Well, I can tell you that Fort Lauderdale was a sleepy little beach town when I moved here. And you only came here for spring break if you were outside of the area. Summer times were completely dead, and it was a predominantly white, male-centric society. And when you look at where we are today in 2021, where you've got 170 nationalities represented in Broward County with 147 languages spoken in households here, it has completely changed into being a diverse and vibrant community full of people who bring their culture and their backgrounds to weave this amazing fabric that is what we are today. And that change alone has made us a much better community as a result. And it's a drastic change. It has been a drastic change. And I'll say for some people who have been here a long time, it's still a very difficult change. But I know for those of us at Visit Lauderdale, where we celebrate our diversity, we are so pleased to see how rich a community we've become as a result of the diverse nature of our residents.
Matt, you go first. I feel like you're the expert. I'll give you my 2 cents after.
Okay. All right. Nikki, did you want me to go?
Oh,
Oh,
you're on mute.
Nikki, you're on mute.
Nikki, Dennis is here, I think.
Oh, sorry.
So if you want to
Yeah,
bring
I
him.
was saying I thought I saw Dennis just hopping on just now. So if Monica, if you can try to spotlight him, but yes, Matt, please feel free to go ahead.
Sure, how we've changed. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think that we've gone from being a place that was built on great weather, nice beaches, low taxes, and airports that are fairly proximate to lots of places that we want to be. I mean, going up to the Northeast, for example, which are all great things. But I think now we've graduated to something else, and building on the things that Stacy was just saying. Number one is how we've become so international and diverse. I mean, just here in Miami, for example, over half the population is born outside the U.S. rather than in. So it's this really rich environment, and I couldn't help but notice when one of the heads of Founders Fund, the big VC from Silicon Valley, Keith Rabois, said he was moving here. He talked about how cosmopolitan the region is. And so that's become a real differentiator. Furthermore, the art and cultural environment, all the work that's gone in by so many people, over the last 30 years in building the art and cultural life of our region, critically important as we think about how our region has changed. It's become, I mean, think of what the Art Basel effect and what that's meant for our region. Furthermore, I would include urbanization, like so many Sunbelt cities that sort of sprawled out with auto-centric development with no real there. Now that whether it's downtown Fort Lauderdale, downtown West Palm Beach, downtown Miami, or outlying neighborhoods too, like here in Miami, neighborhoods, like Wynwood or Midtown, areas like that have become very distinctive neighborhoods with really nice density and a real identity and great walkability, which carries enormous appeal. And then the last thing I would say is the growth of the universities. I know growing up in Boston, I never thought of South Florida as a center of higher education. Other things came to mind, but not that. But now look at what's happening, across our region. And again, I live down in the city of Miami in Coconut Grove, and just around where I am right now, we have Miami-Dade College. Believe it or not, I mean, the largest campus-based college and the most diverse campus-based college in the country, right here, or FIU, which is which didn't open its doors really to the early 1970s, and now is I think we're certainly top 10. I think we're now top 5 in terms of size public research universities in the country. So we built on this initial base to create what is this really remarkable collection, being a region that's so international, so vibrant in terms of art and culture, has urbanized and has a really, really robust network of universities and colleges that together I think is changing our region dramatically, and is why in so many ways that during COVID, as we've seen people rethink where they want to live and work and be, is that South Florida increasingly is the place where people are choosing to go.
I did want to say thank you, Dennis, and sorry that you were struggling on getting on right early this morning. But our first, if you haven't kind of caught up with what we have as far as our first question, we actually did have it addressed to you. So I'd love to hear from you on this. You have been in your position with the Chamber of Commerce for over 36 years, and that's pretty impressive. So we were opening up the conversation with just telling our audience a little bit about how you've seen South Florida change over the years. So if you wanted to add to that, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Nikki, and I apologize for my tardiness this morning.
Oh, no problem.
When I was recruited to take over as CEO of the Chamber, the population in Palm Beach County was approximately 450,000. Today it is over 1.5 million. That amount of growth is astronomical in any community. Palm Beach County has not only had a rapid growth over the past 35 plus years, but it will continue into the next 25, in my opinion. We still have enough geographical mass within the county to accommodate further growth and expansion. And with the large amount of repurposing in our urban areas, downtown West Palm Beach and other urban cores, are going to see some repurposing that will add to the growth and expansion and allow us to continue to recruit new companies and new industries to the community. You can't underestimate the fact that the lack of a state income tax weighs on the minds of many business owners and entrepreneurs who look to relocate out of the Northeast quadrant, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and now most recently, a large number of contacts we've received from the state of California who are looking to relocate and exploring the possibility of moving their businesses to Palm Beach County in South Florida. Build upon that, the climate, as Matt pointed out, we are blessed with a climate that during the past 12 months during COVID has allowed the people who lived here many, many more options than those who reside and work north of the Mason-Dixon line.
Thank you so much, Dennis. And yes, I actually did want to go back to Matt for the next question here, because you had kind of alluded that to the comment earlier about regionalism. Just wanted to ask you, from an economic development perspective, what are some of the specific benefits that this South Florida region offers in regards to business endeavors?
Well, number one, I think it's just important to keep perspective and thinking about regionalism. Like if you were to draw a line from, say, San Francisco to San Jose, well, you could drive to Miami to Boca within that distance, right? So
Right.
we've been listening to for so many years, and rightly so, for all that's been created about Silicon Valley. If you just take that particular stretch, that's within that. And going up to West Palm is not that much further. So number one, we've seen a regional approach really work. I mean, the leading center of innovation in the world has adopted this regional approach. I think that innovation and entrepreneurship is built on a diversity of people and ideas. Connecting and colliding. The more people that you have engaged who bring their life experiences, who bring the particular, problems that they've experienced in their own lives that they want to solve, that the more that people you bring together in this effort and connect, the more innovation you'll find, the more problem solving that you'll see. The evidence is there from a regional approach. I mean, the truth is that in terms of high growth entrepreneurship, which as we think about tech, small business entrepreneurship is really important and so important in any community. But of course, as we think about technology, fostering an ecosystem that can drive high growth entrepreneurship is so important, which I think so many of us on this call are focusing in on. But as we think about high growth entrepreneurship, the truth is that the really successful high growth tech companies have been in Broward County, right? I mean, think about the story. I mean, the story in terms of the leading tech success story, take Chewy, founded in 2011, exited, IPO'd, and is now valued at more than $40 billion. That started right here in South Florida, but in Broward. And so it's important or Nearpod, which just had a 600 ed tech company with a $650 million exit. That's in Dania Beach. So I think as we think about our community and driving it forward, we really need to leverage the assets of the entire community. And furthermore, when we tell the story of high growth entrepreneurship in South Florida, when you actually reach all the way across the region, it's a really compelling story. And for that reason, we need to continue to fight to move beyond our own silos, which are easy to fall back into, and continue to reach out across the community and adopt a model that we've seen that has worked so well elsewhere.
Appreciate that, Matt. And actually, I did want to ask Andrew to follow that up with this question, is because, obviously on this panel, you are coming from the corporate perspective, right? So you have a company that's based here. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but City Furniture has been in business from, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, from in the 70s, right? Like when it was Waterbed City back then. But what does it mean to you to be a South Florida based company with such a long-standing history here? And what are some of those economic benefits that you've been able to take from what Matt was saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, we are just beyond blessed to be, living in South Florida. We're in the best part of the state, and, really have fantastic fundamentals, to continuously improve. And while you guys are talking, I'm just thinking like, gosh, every year, every 5-10 years, just the continuous improvement in quality of life, the growth, the technology, education. This is just a phenomenal place to live. And I just love seeing our community leaders just work together and continuously make it better and better and better. And I think, there's this huge opportunity to drive even more companies around the world to see how great South Florida is. And obviously we're reading every day, more and more are taking hold. And I think it's a really cool opportunity for all of us to leverage and continue to invest with the place that we love very much. So I couldn't agree more with what everybody said. I guess my spin is we're just very blessed to be here. We need to keep working together. It's plenty of problems to solve, but it's a fantastic place to be. We're very lucky, all of us. I find myself with COVID, as we live through this COVID, I'm more mobile than I've ever been. I'm networking. Last night I'm in Miami, this weekend I'm in Palm Beach, and then I'm in Broward. So I think, I love this discussion of working together as a region and working together. It'll only benefit all of us because of this new reality, this new normal that we're all in from now on. It's, it's so easy to connect digitally. So, and I have no problem driving an hour to dinner to a networking thing last night because I'm not really driving as much as I used to be. So it's not that big of a deal to be all over South Florida and work to make your business or organization, whatever it may be, better and better. Find better talent, find new people that can help your causes. On the giving back side, we do a lot in the community, and we had a lot of support from all over the region. Again, digitally, it's allowed us to really work together better than ever. So,
thank you, Andrew. Yeah, and you guys are definitely one of the companies that I see that really are giving back to the community and are really ingrained with what's going on right here in your backyard. So that's part of the reason why we wanted you on this panel, is because we thought you were perfect for that. So thank you. My next question is for Stacy. So I know this as a South Floridian born and raised, but simply put, Floridians, basically we live where others vacation. So other than palm trees, sunshine, what do we have that's right here in our backyard that even maybe locals forget about? What are some of the things that you can tell us that we should be taking advantage of?
That's a great question. And let me just tell Andrew, you probably weren't alive when Nancy Stafford did the commercials for City Furniture, but I remember them very, very well. Companies come a long way, and my husband and I love your father so much and your family. So, when I used to come home from college during spring break, all my friends would come to Fort Lauderdale for spring break, and they would look around and they'd say, "Oh my God, you live here?" Because it is such an amazingly beautiful place. And most of us who live here don't even look beyond our screens anymore to see what a beautiful and vibrant community that we are privileged to call home. And one of the things we forget, or maybe some don't even know, is all of the open space here in our region. Broward County has acres and acres of parks. You can boat, you can water ski, you can kayak, you can cycle, you can run, you can walk, you can fish, you can horseback ride. Most people don't associate us with horseback riding, and locals forget that. We also forget that we have 300 miles of waterways in Broward County, and boating is part of it's ingrained in us. It runs through our veins, and you don't have to be a boater to love being on the water. And most residents don't take advantage of those kinds of things. I live in Fort Lauderdale now, but for years I lived in West Broward. And if you live in West Broward, you don't think about all of the things there are to do on the east side, the beach, the waterways, the parks. We also have, which we didn't have for many, many years, a thriving downtown here in Fort Lauderdale. The Mass District, Fat Village, 13th Street in Wilton Manors has also become a vibrant place for people to congregate. And Fort Lauderdale has become a walkable city. Within 2 miles here in Fort Lauderdale, you can experience single family homes, density, restaurants, attractions, retail, everything there is. And now that we are sticking closer to home as a result of the pandemic, I would hope that more residents would take a look at our website, which is sunny.org, and see that there is so much more to do here than you can imagine, and where we welcome everyone under the sun.
Thank you, Stacy. And I don't know if Dennis or Matt, if you wanted to follow up on that question as well, maybe talk a little bit about what can be found in Miami or in Palm Beach County as well.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, okay, then. Sure. The other day, as we've all been experiencing, seeing lots of people who are coming here, maybe just come here for a little while, or maybe stay for a longer while. We'll see. But someone asked me, how should I approach living here in Miami and South Florida? And my answer was, keep looking around the corner. And by that, what I mean is I've found in almost 20 years living here is that it's such a dynamic, fluid environment. It's so easy just to fall into your normal pattern of places that you're going to, hangouts on the weekend, whatever it might be. And the thing is that, it's such a dynamic region. I've oftentimes we hear South Florida talked about as transient. I prefer to think of it as dynamic. And that is that it's built on it's people coming in again and again, sort of providing their own perspectives, their own thoughts, their own beliefs on what this region should look like, and really a culture in a lot of ways of not asking permission, sort of built on doing, which is really special in so many communities. That's not the case, and so I guess while I don't have a particular thing like that Stacy mentioned, it's just sort of a mindset that would encourage is to keep looking, to keep sort of mixing up routines and where you look around, just because I know that the South Florida that I found, certainly when I arrived almost 20 years ago, but the South Florida even 5 years ago is a dramatically different place today. And we need to keep making ourselves open to that.
In addition to what Matt said, I think earlier he spoke upon the quality of the culture that we have in the region. And I think that's an opportunity that is available to those who live or visit us year round. Also, Stacy talked about horseback riding, and it's fun. I've got a granddaughter who does it twice a week now with lessons. And but we also have dressage, equestrian jumping, and polo activities in South Florida. And as too many people forget, 12 months of the year, you can go out west of either of our three counties and you can explore the Everglades, one of the great natural preserves in the world. You can do it by airboat, canoe. It's a great experience and opportunity. And as Andrew knows, having grown up here, it's 12-month availability here. It's not like north of the Mason-Dixon line. When you want to go golfing, you got to jam it in between late April and early September. You can do it 12 months of the year here. So the opportunity that God has blessed us with the climate we have, allows all the amenities that we offer to be truly year-round amenities.
You are very correct, Dennis. And thank you, all of you, for the answers to that question, because each of you coming from different counties there. I mean, we've got a lot of similarities, but very differences and different things we can do in each of those spaces as well. And you're very right, Matt, to your comment of, and Andrew, actually, you had said this as well, is the distance in South Florida to get from Palm Beach County to Miami seems like it's a long time or it's a long drive, but it's really not. It's so easily, that we're connected here in the region. I know we also do a lot, just our family with the kids and getting out there in the community, going to the different museums, the beaches, the parks. So it's definitely we're not as separated as sometimes we feel like we are. My next question here is for Andrew. So right now, you're leading a successful business. You've got a beautiful young family. And I often see on social media, I follow you there, that you're involved in all these different activities, giving back to the community. Can you tell us a little bit about how this region has helped you contribute to that work-life balance and some of the things that maybe you're involved in as far as giving back to the community?
I think there's a lot of great community leaders and support in causes and organizations that just give back in general in South Florida. I think so. So I think we stand on the shoulders of leaders that have gone before us, and I guess our business has just been fortunate to grow in our community. So it's only right to give back. I mean, these are the people in our community that reward us with success. So we got to give back. So I think that's just inherent in our industry. And, the more we give, I feel like, I hate to say this, it's like the more we get, and you do good, if you just give more to people, good things come back to you in your business, and just being participating in the community and listening to the issues, and it just rewards you in a million different ways. You learn so much about what's going on. We're very involved in a lot of the stuff to grow our counties around us. And I think we're ahead of the curve on, what's happening before it happens. And it just helps us grow our business, and, makes us a little bit more successful. So, I just, that's our kind of philosophy. It's kind of a little corny, but
No, and I love that. And I think, in addition to just city being able to give back to the community, I mean, you guys have really done a good job, like you and Janet's team, on creating that internal culture and allowing, outsiders to kind of see that culture. Because I know, at least for me, I know that I was always a Janet groupie. I followed her everywhere to watch her on panels and see what was going on, because I really loved what you guys were creating there. So, thank you for all of that too, that as far as what you're doing for the community. And I did want to talk to you a little bit, Dennis, here. I learned in trying to put this panel together, I did not realize that you were actually from Ohio. So coming from Ohio and holding positions such as mayor and city council president, you seemed pretty invested there in that community. Can you talk a little bit about, for those thinking about making the move to South Florida, like why you made the move and what we're building here, like what really attracted you here, and then what are we building now?
Well, first of all, I was recruited for the job about 35 and a half years ago. The best explanation is they flew me down in the month of December. They had the de-ice airplane twice on the runway at the Akron-Canton Airport. I took that as a message from God. If they offer you the job, be smart, take it. And I also was aware of the change of national and international economies that was occurring. Large manufacturing opportunities that built the Midwest, from Pittsburgh to Cleveland, to Detroit to Chicago. That transition was occurring, and the shift in the economy would lead one to believe that the future and your most productive years were south of the Mason-Dixon line, in North Carolina, Florida, early on Texas, California, if you wanted to go across the country. So I think you've got to be able to adapt. Since then, though, things have changed even more dramatically. I think Matt touched on this. We've got business people who can unplug and then plug in their businesses in a matter of hours. That makes us viable to them with all the other amenities we offer to attract people here. And the simple growth we've had. Andrew talks about his commute in the region. After COVID hopefully evaporates from our region, Andrew will be able to take Brightline and even have an easier trip to the Palm Beaches or Miami, and then very shortly, even as far as Orlando, as we shrink the size of the state of Florida. So Florida is a growth state. Palm Beach County is the leading growth county, in my opinion, in that state. And all you had to do was observe it and make the move.
I love that story. Yeah, I hope I never have to go through de-icing. So
believe me, it's not a reassuring experience right before you take off.
Yeah, being born and raised South Floridian, I've never had to go through that too many times, but that was just scary for a moment. It just gave me anxiety even thinking about it. So thank you again, Dennis, for that. Matt, I did want to ask, from Miami to Palm Beach County, we've got some pretty impressive businesses that are headquartered here in South Florida. Can you talk about who are some of these dominant businesses making changes right here in our backyard, and maybe what we can expect coming over the next months or years, seeing so many more businesses that are moving to the region and all this activity around even just Miami tech?
Absolutely. And if it's okay, if I could just lob on to a question that Peter Gruskin put in the chat about what
Sure.
we're going to do to make South Florida even more successful in entrepreneurship and innovation. I would love to take a stab at that too. So, as we think about what's been playing out, specifically focused on tech and innovation, obviously, as I mentioned, we've had some really remarkable stories such as Chewy, the e-commerce company, Nearpod, the ed tech company. The Magic Leap story continues to play out. Obviously, they went through a big bump and a transition in leadership, but now they have new leadership in place. It's really impressive. And as they move from a consumer approach to an enterprise approach. And so it's going to be really interesting to see that play out. And then, in downtown Miami, the big story we're watching play out is a company called Reef, which has raised some $2.3 billion, some $600 million from SoftBank, out of their Vision Fund. And it's a company essentially, making a bet globally on the 15-minute city. That as downtowns become more dense, that they're going to create through purchasing parking lots all over the world, creating these community hubs for food delivery, for package delivery, for transportation. And so that is sort of the big startup story that we're watching play out right now in downtown Miami specifically. Now, but as we think about sort of how we sort of go from here and where we go from here, I mean, I do think back to, back 8-9 years ago, there were so many things we had to solve for, and we had virtually no co-working, for example. And community groups such as this where people could connect. There were many fewer of those, and in so many ways sort of solve for that sense of community, that belief that it can be done here. We are seeing companies, whether it's the ones I just mentioned or others that are successfully raising money. But I think as we go forward, my mind really drifts to sort of 3 areas that we really need to hone in on. One is around talent. Any successful ecosystem fundamentally is built on providing an access to funding and capital and talent. Right now, access to funding, of course, we can find areas we need to shore up, but broadly speaking, if you have a good idea, you're likely going to be able to get funding. Whereas talent is something we still need to work on, and on 2 levels. One, of course, is around creating that talent that companies can hire right now, but also developing talent as a way to drive social mobility. That's so that as we think about a tech ecosystem, it's not only driving innovation, creating jobs, stirring greater economic development, but is also lifting up an entire community and really expanding opportunity in a real and tangible way. And talent development programs across the board, whether it's at the university level, whether it's K through 12, or really importantly, I think continuous education going forward is going to be a key piece of the talent development puzzle, just because things are changing so fast. I was recently reading Peter Diamandis' book, The Future is Faster Than You Think. And what he talks about is just he himself has to engage in continual learning to stay up to date with what's happening. And we need to have an educational system that follows that. And that's where I think continuous learning, certification programs, things of that nature are going to be so important. The other thing is quality of life. I mean, in this deep dive I've been doing at One Community, at the Beacon Council around how to reimagine where to take one community, one goal. It's been interesting to hear when I ask what are things to solve for, and we'll find tech entrepreneurs will talk about quality of life. We'll say things like, where are the protected bike lanes and things like that, right? And particularly as we're in this moment now where people see that remote working can really work, that often people are even more so choosing place first. And so we need to be sure that we're creating a place that people really become attached to. I just experienced the flip side of that. A couple of nights ago, I was talking to this group of 3 entrepreneurs who moved here from San Francisco. And I said, what brought you here? Why did you move? And they said, look, we weren't attached to the place in San Francisco. We were attached to the network. And then, of course, we had this event that changed the network, and the network moved. So we moved too, right? And so, obviously we want to build a really robust network, but we want to attach people to place too. And that's those things we often don't sort of think about as part of building an ecosystem are so important. And then the last thing I think is around sustainability. We should own that in South Florida and see what is this great challenge and turn it into this amazing economic opportunity. And right now, candidly, I think there's less of that going on, but the opportunity is there for us. And it's something that if we really grab hold of it, can drive our regional economy for a generation or more.
Nikki, in addition to what Matt pointed out, I absolutely agree with him that talent is one of the major challenges that we face every day when we meet with potential relocators to the region. But in addition to that, one of the challenges that we have today that is going to be with us for a while is housing. Many of the people that we relocate here find it economically difficult to purchase a single family home. People who are here now find it very challenging to purchase a single family home. And that also exists in the rental market with condos and townhouses. That's a regional challenge that we have, and one that we have to continue to work on, because not all the people relocate here with six-figure incomes, and others who want to have that single family home opportunity or move up in their residential living situation need to have the opportunity and not be forced to move to St. Lucie County and communicate and commute to South Florida and our three counties.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, and actually, you know, there's some comments here in the chat as well of folks saying that, you know, please don't turn South Florida into what they just left in California. And I think that is, you know, a really important thing to remember, is that we always try to compare ourselves to Silicon Valley, and you hear so many people do that. But in my opinion, I don't want to become that. I want to be better than that. I think we've got a lot more diversity here. We have a better work-life balance. There's a lot of things that we have that other communities don't, but I know that is definitely a worry of so many people, and that even I talk to on a daily basis is, look, I came here for a reason. I don't want it to become what I just left. One of the things which I'm hoping maybe you can give some insight into this as well is Peter actually put the comment in there. An idea for attracting innovation and talent from South Florida and New York is investing more money in public transportation. I know that that's something that Miami area has been working on as well. Is that something that maybe you can comment on? What are some of the things that are being worked on there?
100%. I mean, I think it's going to, number one, it will require a public investment in transportation in a big way. We have here in Miami-Dade, you know, we have a new administration at the county level, and look forward to seeing sort of the plans that they, you know, trot out in terms of thinking about expanding transportation. You know, we do have a revised bus network, and of course, through private investment, we'll soon be getting back the Bright Line, which so helps in connecting our region. And so, but then in addition, we're going to see a sort of, we're in the middle of both a micro and macro transportation revolution. I mean, I say that because we'll see where all this goes. And I know this sounds a little far out, but literally 2 weeks ago was sitting down with a company that wants to bring electric helicopter taxis to South Florida starting in 2024. We'll see, right? But they were saying they think initially it'd be $5 a mile, and then they can get down to $2 a mile. And so, you know, how soon that happens, we don't know. Typically, what happens is in the short term, it takes longer than we think, but as we think over the longer term, these things typically happen faster when we look back than we think. So I think as we move forward, it's really going to have to be a layered approach, and that is really leaning in on our public officials to continue to make the public investments for publicly available mass transportation, but then really having an open mind when it comes to innovation and mobility, whether it's, you know, at the micro level, whether it's the electric scooters, which, you know, there are all debates in cities, you know, across our region and around the country about that, or it's things that are just seem so far-fetched, but people are working on right now. And I'd say, like the case of the flying helicopter taxis, I was literally sitting across a table from someone 2 weeks ago who are here in Miami saying they want to be here in 3 years operating these. So I think it's going to require both as we think about it, but it's going to, and then I would go back to, let's get those protected bike lanes. I can't tell you how many times that those came up, that has come up as I've been talking to people, particularly new arrivals, but also people who've been here for many, many years. And as we move from a region that for so long has relied almost exclusively on the automobile for mobility.
Stacy, great point about what Broward County has done.
Yes, thank you, Dennis, for bringing that up. I was just going to ask Stacy if you can talk a little bit more about that too. Your comments there in the chat.
Yeah, well, thank you, and you know, I think there are probably some people on this call. What do we call it? Panel, spectating, whatever they're
Coffee
called.
chat.
The people who are watching, who are wondering what the tourism person is doing on this call, and I have to say that our job is to bring visitors here, but hope that they come back and bring their businesses. We think that's a huge part of our mission. That's how my family got here back in 1974. We lived in Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is suburban Chicago. It was the dead of winter. My father's car didn't start for the entire week. And on that Friday, he threw his keys in the snow and he said, "Damn it, we're moving to Florida." And 3 weeks later, his company transferred him here. So we started on vacation here 6 months earlier. That's how we got here. And that's what we do. We work with Discover the Palm Beaches to do that by bringing groups and conferences and associations here from marine, from tech, from medical, to show them what we have here during their week of conference. And then we partner them up with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, which is the counterpart here in Broward to the Beacon Council. And they go and make their pitch as to why Broward's the best place to move their business. It's a very regional approach how we work with it. I will also say that a lot of the reason that I think that we are shortchanged here in South Florida is that we don't get a lot of support from the state. States like Georgia, which created a film industry, pulled it from New York and pulled it from LA, they get a lot of state support. Film industry here completely dried up when the state pulled back its support. That goes a long way toward investing in tech and in medical and in marine. Because quite frankly, the county individually, and probably even as a region, we don't have the resources to bring these huge businesses here without the kind of support that other states give to those businesses coming to their communities. So there is a lot a lot of pieces. And the reason why I think the tourism person is sitting at this table today. In 2018, for the second time, the Broward County Board of County Commissioners put an item on the ballot for an extra penny sales tax, specifically for transportation. And the first time that they put it on, it did not pass. In 2018, it did pass. And Broward County has been collecting. It was certainly the money was coming in faster and in much larger amounts prior to the pandemic when people were actually buying things. But the money is to go toward public transportation, road improvements, bike lanes, which personally I don't think I'd get on a bike in downtown Fort Lauderdale, but that's just me. And things that allow walkability, that will allow people to move from point A to point B much faster, easier, so that we can become the kind of community where people aren't stuck in traffic for 40 minutes trying to go 3 miles. That money is being shared with the cities so that they can also use that money for their own public transit. Some cities have community bus service where they move their residents around just the city limits. So the money is being shared with the city. There's a specific county person who's in charge of managing that surtax. There's a board that looks at the projects and chooses which projects move forward. And I think it's going to be huge. Of course, it takes years to get these projects moving. But I think that it will definitely change how people move around here in Broward County and will make us the kind of place where you don't sit in traffic forever and you can get around much easier. It's a big deal and unusual for the voters to vote to tax themselves. It was very generous and we were very pleased that it passed in 2018.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, and I'm, I can only assume too that with that, instead of in addition to making it easier, for transportation to do fun things as well, of all the great things we have in South Florida, it probably helps companies, like Andrew as well, with attracting talent and getting, access to more people that maybe, he wouldn't have been able to before. I know I often use the example, even just personally for myself, is, I live in Wellington, Royal Palm area, so much, west out in Palm Beach County. And actually my last job, it was in East Boca. It took me less time to get to City Furniture in Broward than it did to the other side of the county in Boca. So, I mean, just, considering transportation and being able to get from one end of the region to the other is a huge, huge impact for a lot of companies that are based here.
We tell people that that Broward County is a lot closer to Hard Rock Stadium than downtown Miami is.
Exactly.
So Nikki and everybody, I know some of the questions in the chat from our standpoint, I guess some of the folks want to see some specifics, like our belief. And I know I've talked to Joe and Nikki, when it comes to the tech community, we need to unite. We need to have a regional tech strategy, because, I mean, just our company, everybody lives in all counties. We're all over the place. And for a company like us, that's going to be, probably 80% work from home. And, some companies are going to be 90, some are going to be 100, some are 0%, but there's going to be a mix of everything out there. So long story short, like, we believe we need to have a tech strategy for the region and figure out a way, to get the folks that are outside of our community, think of South Florida as a whole, not a competing interest of Miami, Broward, and Palm Beaches. And Joe knows that I'm going to be vocal, and Keith and I are going to be vocal to support that, because that's just going to win for all of us in all counties, all communities in South Florida. So there's our specific, and I like the Google campus. I'd love to see that.
I think Andrew's hit the nail on the head. The challenge that we have in areas like transportation, I think we ought to have a regional tech policy and strategy and goals. And the key to it is regional, combining the three counties. Quite honestly, Matt talked about mass transportation and mobility options. Those are not hot buttons north of the I-4 corridor. So when we're in Tallahassee fighting for dollars, state dollars, many of those dollars coming from South Florida, they're used to build roads north of the I-4 corridor, where people just roll new streets, new roads, etc., and don't want to have any discussion about mobility or the needs of denser populated communities. So we have to be wise and combine both our public sector with our elected officials and our private sector in pushing just to get our fair share of state revenues to address the transportation issue.
Thank you, Dennis. And I know we've got just a couple minutes left here. There's so many good questions that are coming through chat. I wish we almost had time to answer all these, but I did see one really important question, and I wanted to make sure that we address here from Richard. He said that he's interested in hearing thoughts on how the growth of the tech community in South Florida and the benefits stemming from that, such as investment, entrepreneurial opportunities, education opportunities, can be shared with areas outside of the downtown core, areas like he used here, Deep South Dade, known as an agricultural center, as well as winter wedding destination. How can we help expand the tech investment benefits to areas like this?
You want me to take a crack at that, Nikki? Happy
Sure.
to take a stab. I would say play to strengths, right? So in South Dade, for example, ag tech is real, and we're seeing a lot of extraordinary things happening. And so really leaning in on that in a big, big way. And having a real open mind. I mean, recently, for example, a company called Atlantic Sapphire, a Norwegian aquaculture salmon farm, set up a huge facility down in South Dade. So is that ad tech? No, but it's, but it is sort of playing to strengths in terms of establishing a large facility in the area. And so my thought would be, whether it's, thinking about, in West Dade. I know we're talking about sort of horse country, right? I mean, are there strengths you can play to there or whatever it might be? And so I think is that as we each sort of part of our region has some distinctive qualities. And I think it's really leaning into what those sort of issues are and what those particular problems we're trying to solve in those areas are, applying technology. So that's where I would start as we think about how we can sort of spread this across the whole region. There is no doubt, though, that as we think about tech, the gravitational pull is to the urban centers and to dense urban environments. That is absolutely the case. But we just need to think about things that serve as differentiators for other parts of our community, and that we can apply technology to really drive economic growth in those places.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt. And we've got about 30 seconds left here. So I want to
Nikki.
just close this. Oh, yes.
Really
heard of
quick.
this.
Sorry. Hey, it's Joe.
Yeah.
I'm actually in transit right now and did hit the hour and a half long traffic this morning. But I did want to really quick recognize it's Dennis Grady's, I believe, last week or maybe last couple weeks on the job.
2 more days.
After 30 years.
Oh, congratulations.
2 more days. After being a force for good in West Palm and the Palm Beaches for over 30 years. And I just wanted to thank him and recognize him for all the good work that he did. I didn't know if a lot of people knew that, but he's been a great guy for so many people coming through the ranks here in the Palm Beaches. So thank you so much, Dennis, and thank you for being on today.
Joe, thank you for those very kind words. The good news for all of you with us this morning, although I will be exiting the stage, you'll still have Dan Lindblade running the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber and Alfred Sanchez running the Greater Miami Chamber and my successor, Donald Burgess, here in the Palm Beaches. You'll have great quality leadership to take the region to the next level. And I'm going to enjoy watching you make that move.
Thank you for that, Joe. And thank you, Dennis, and congratulations. I was not aware of that big news, so thank you. And I think that is the perfect thing to wrap us up here. I appreciate Andrew, Beth, Stacy, Matt, Dennis, all of you for coming on bright and early this morning. And of course, everybody in attendance. Hopefully this has helped a few more of our folks find a reason to come here down to South Florida, and also for us that are already here, or like myself, born and raised, there's quite a few things that I was not aware of. And of course, like most panels, I learned this morning. So thank you again, and hopefully everybody has a great day.
Take care. Stay well.
Bye.
You too. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dennis.
Thank you.
Take care.